This is instruction on how to do lesson 2 problem set. So I got my name on my paper. Let's look at the first one. Number 1 says solve each addition problem using place value strategies. Use the arrow way or mental math and record your answers. You may use scrap paper if you'd like. The arrow way we did in problem set 1, and mental math is doing math in your head. Now, let's look at A. 2 hundreds, 4 tens, plus 3 hundreds. You could do this in your head using mental math. I am going to show you how to do it using a hundreds, tens, and ones chart. Hundreds, tens, ones. Okay, so the first one, 200, so let's put our 200s, and 4 tens. The second one is 300s, and no tens. So now let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 hundreds, and let's count our tens. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 5 hundreds and 4 tens. And if you wrote this in number form, it would be 540. Okay, now let's look at 240 plus 300. Let's use the arrow way. 240 plus 300. So I have my 240. I'm going to skip count by 100. So I'm going to add my first 100. Now remember, we're just adding 100. We're not adding anything to the ones, and we're not adding anything to the tens. So we're just adding 1 to our 100 spot. So 240 plus 100 is 340. Remember, because 2 plus 1 equals 3. And we're adding another 100. 340. Let's erase that little mark there. Plus 100 is 440. I have one more 100 to add. 440 plus 100 is 540. That's our answer. So 240 plus 300 is 540. Now, let's look at E really quick. Or actually, let's look at D. Let's look at D. So D, you did have some of these problems in problem set 1. Let's work one out together. 571 plus something equals 871. So let's use the arrow way to solve this. What we're going to do with the arrow way is we're going to count backwards to find out what this number is right here. Okay, so we're going to start with 871. And I'm counting backwards, which means I'm subtracting. Remember, if we're on a number line, because arrow way is like a number line, when you're adding, you start here. And when you're subtracting, you start here. So we're starting at the end. Okay, 871, and we have 5 hundreds, 7 tens, and 1 1 to subtract. So let's start with our hundreds. Let's take away 100 equals 771, because remember, We're not taking away our tens and our ones yet, just our hundreds. So 8 minus 1 is 7. And these two numbers do not change. Minus 100. 771 minus 100 is 671. Minus 100 is 571. Because remember, only our ones change. 1, 2, 3. I have 200 left to go. Minus 100. 571 minus 100 is 471. I have one more 100 to subtract. 471 minus 100 is 371. Now I'm going to take away my tens. I have 7 tens. Look, 7 tens. So I'm just going to take away all the tens. Minus 70 equals 301, because 7 minus 7 is 0. Now another way you could do that, let's erase that. Another way you could do that is to take away the ones. Let's get rid of that 1 and make that a 0. So 371 minus 1 equals 370, because 1 minus 1 is 0. And you're not taking away the hundreds or the tens. That might be a little easier. Now you have 7 tens to take away, and look how many tens we have left. Oh, 7 tens. So let's take away our 7 tens, and that equals 300, because the 100 spot does not change. That stays the same. Okay, the 3 just carries over. 7 minus 7 is 0, and 0 minus 0 is 0. So when we look at D, our answer is right here. So 571 plus 300, oh, that is really hard to write. Let me try a different color. 300 equals 871. And you know how you could check your answer if you you're like, I don't know. I'm not sure how to check that answer. Here's how you check your answer. You make a hundreds, tens, and ones chart. You put your 500s, your 7 tens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and your 1, and then you add your 300, and you add them. I have 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 ones. Yep, my answer is right. You could also do that problem using mental math. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, try mental math. Okay, now let's look at number 2. Solve each subtraction problem using place value strategies. Oops. Use the arrow way or mental math and record your answers. Okay, 6 hundreds, 2 ones minus 4 hundreds equals how many hundreds, how many tens, and how many ones? Again, I'm going to use a hundreds, tens, and ones chart for this problem. So the first part is 6 hundreds, 2 ones. And you're subtracting 400s. Now remember, with subtraction, you always start with the biggest number or the first number. So we're starting with this. So I have 600s. I have 2 1s. Now I'm taking away 400s. Remember, when we're subtracting and we're using the hundreds, tens, and ones chart, we do not add the number because that's adding, and that's not what we're doing. We're taking that number away. So first we're going to take away 400s because that's what it says. So look at the hundred spot and you're going to cross out 400s. And we have no ones to take away and no tens. So our answer would be 202 because we have 0 tens and 2 ones. So we have 200s, 0 tens, and 2 ones. Now let's look at the next part of A. And let's use the arrow way to solve 602 minus 400. So let's write our problem. Now remember, we're going to count backwards. We're not adding this time, we're subtracting. So let's start at 602. And we have 400 to take away, so I'm going to take away 100. So it's kind of like skip counting backwards. The ones place does not change and the tens place does not change. We're only changing the hundreds spot and that's it. So our answer is 502 minus 100 is 402 minus 100 is 302 minus 100 is 202. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, I took away my 400. So my answer is 202. Okay? Okay, now let's look at on problem 2, let's look at D. I'll do the first one with you guys. 431 minus something equals 131. All you have to do here, let me get my pen going. And guys, just so you know, I just ordered a new stylus pen to write on my laptop screen. The one I'm using now is kind of old and it's not really good for writing. That's why it's kind of messy. So hopefully by Monday I have a new laptop pen and it'll look a lot neater. So just kind of bear with me this week. Okay, so on problem D, all you have to do is subtract 131 from 431 to get the answer. It's that easy. So 431 minus 131. So you could do this, different ways using your place value strategy. I'm going to show you the arrow way. You can also use mental math, and I'll go over that as well. 431 minus 131. So we start with our 431. And I'm going to show you a little trick here. Look at the tens and the ones spot. Let me get a different color. 431. And look at the one spot. So in the 10 spot we have 30. And in the 1 spot, we have 1. Now let's look at our next number that we're subtracting. Look in the tens and the 1 spot. Are those numbers the same? There's a 33, a 3, and a 1. 3 and 1. So this tells me I'm going to subtract 31 first, because that will make my number 400. Because 3 minus 3 is 0, and 1 minus 1 is 0. And that makes it a lot easier to subtract the 100. So now I'm going to take away my 100, and my answer is 300, because 4 minus 1 is 3. So that would be 300. So 431 minus 300 is 131. Now, if you want to do mental math, you would, let me write the problem up here. Kind of do the same thing, except look at your ones, you look at your tens, and you realize 1 minus 1 is 0, 3 minus 3 is 0, and then you look at your hundreds. 4 minus 1 is 3, and there you go. Now, let's look at E, because that one's a little different. Those problems are a little different. Now, you're probably thinking, well, on D, I just subtracted 131 from 431, and I got my answer. But that's not how you would do this one, because on this problem, something minus 200 equals 662. So on this one, we're missing the first number. And when we're subtracting, we know the first number has to be bigger than the second number. And it has to be bigger than the answer. If I subtracted 200 from 662, that would not give me the correct answer, because it would be a smaller number than the answer. And that wouldn't make sense. So what we do here is we're going to add 200 to 662, and that will give us our number. Okay? So when you're in the subtraction problem, when you're missing the first number, you're going to add the second number with the answer. Okay? So let's take 662, and let's do this the arrow way. It's good practice. We need to add 200, so I'm going to add 100. And remember, I'm only changing the hundreds place. I'm not changing the 10, and I'm not changing the 1. The only number changing is in the hundreds place. So 6 plus 1 is 700, and my 10s and my 1s stays the same, so it's 762. Now I need to add another 100. So 7 plus 1 is 8, and then my 10s and my 1s stay the same. So your number is 862. Let's erase this. let me just show you what would happen if I did this the wrong way. I talked about it, but let me show you. Now, if I took 662 and I'm going to subtract 100, 6 minus 1 is 5, and remember, our 10s and our 1s do not change, so it'd be 562. So now if I subtract another 100, 5 minus 1 is 4, my 10s and 1s stay the same, that gives me 462. 462, oops, I don't know why I'm putting that there. Minus 200 is not 662. 462 plus 200 equals 662. But we're not adding, we're subtracting. So if I took away, here's how you check your answer. If I took away 100 from 462, I get 362. And then I take away another 100, I would get 262. And that's not what the answer is. The answer is 662. So that makes me know that, whoops, that's not correct. Okay, now let's look at the second page of Lesson 2 problem set. Number 3. Fill in the blanks to make true number sentences. Use place value strategies, number bonds, or the arrow way to solve. So for A, we have 200 more, let me get my pen, 200 more than 389. So we know that when you see the word more, it means you're going to be adding. So we need to add 200 to 389. So here would be our number sentence. 389 plus 200. So we're adding because adding means more. Now it says we can use place value strategies, number bonds, or the arrow way. So let's do a number bond because that was seemed a little bit hard when we went over that in class. So let's practice that. Now a number bond is when you take a whole number, this is the whole number, and you're going to break it up into parts to make it easier to add. So if I have a number that's 389, it has a hundreds, a tens, and a ones place. The easiest thing to do would be to break it up. So break up the hundreds. So that's 300. And then we have 89 left. So now we're going to add the hundreds. So here we have 200 and we're going to add it to 300. So 300, oops, that looks like a time symbol, plus 200 equals, now this is easy to add because we don't change the ones or the tens, we're only changing this number, the 100s. So 3 plus 2 is 5, and then we have 0, 0. But now we have 89 left, so we need to add that to our 500. Oops, 89. And this is easy because we're adding 9 to the 1 spot and there's 0 there. So that would be 9. And 8 plus 0 is 8. And then there's nothing in the 100 spot, right? So we're not adding anything. So the number stays the same. And here's our number, 589. That's your answer. 389 plus 200 equals 589. That's using number bonds. You could also use place value, which would be, in my opinion, easy. So let's do our hundreds, tens, and ones. So let's do 389 first. We look at the ones place first. We have 9 ones, so let's put those in there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's look at the 10 spot now. We have 8 tens. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now let's look at the hundreds. We have 3 hundreds. Now let's look at our next number. 200. We have 0 ones, so I don't add anything there. 0 tens, so I don't add anything there. And 2 hundreds. So now let's add those together. Let's count our ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Our tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Remember, we don't add the 0, only the 8. And let's count our hundreds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 500. There's our answer, 589. So that was 2 different ways you could do that. Now looking at, I'm not going to do any more problems in 3, but I want you to make sure you pay attention to the key phrases or key words that let you know if you're adding or subtracting. So I just went over more means to add, but look at here. We have less than, less, less equals subtraction. Less is another word for subtraction. Take away is another word for subtracting, subtraction. So just look at those key words. Now, number 4 is a word problem. So remember, when you are doing a word problem, you need to look at numbers and key words. So Jessica's lemon tree had 526 lemons. Well, I would highlight. Oops. Oh, I don't like that highlight color. Let's pick a different one. Let's go back to yellow. 526, I would highlight that. She gave away 300 lemons. Gave away. So she got rid of 300. Think about what gave away means. How many does she have left? There's my key phrase. That's the question. The question is saying, how many does she have left? And I'm really paying attention to left. And now this one says, use the arrow way to solve. So you would use the arrow way to solve your problem. Hopefully this helped you. Of course, if you watch this video and you still are having problems or struggling, remember I will be on Zoom from 9 to 11, or you can message me on Dojo or send me an email. Your parents have my email. Good luck, and I look forward to posting tomorrow's lesson for you. It'll be lesson 3 problem set.